Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Cars and Coffee from sunny but almost spring Indianapolis. And if you're a car guy, you're in the right place, because this morning we're going to talk about preparing your car for the new season, whether it be a street car or track car or just a fun car. And we've got some good stuff. We got an interview with Paul Dondero on his V6. We've got some shots of the update on Cliff's FR500S. And of course, we got the questions from the Speed Therapy Society members. So if you're just joining, I'm Kenny Brown. This is Cars and Coffee, and we're going to have a good time talking about cool stuff. Well, I don't know where to start. We got so much stuff to talk about today. I guess what everybody really wants to know about is kind of prepping their car for the season of the spring. Well, I've got a really easy way to do that. If you recall, we've got this is my car prep sheet that I use, and we go racing, and it lives within the Speed Therapy Society resource Facebook group resource section. You can download it from there. But basically, it kind of, getting ready for spring is no different than getting ready for a track event or a race, and you pretty much do the same types of things. You go under the hood. You want to check the air filter. The radiator, power steering, oil levels. Well, I would change the oil. And if the car's been sitting around all winter, I'd go ahead and change the oil. Get some fresh oil in there, oil and filter, and check the water lines, the fuel lines, the power steering fluid. Pretty much everything under the hood that you can have a good look at. The belts. And then, of course, you want to start taking a look, get the car up in the air using your Kenny Brown jacking rails and jack stands. You get in the car, have a good look at everything. Now, typically what I do when we work on the cars is all four wheels come off so we can see everything. In fact, if you've ever been with me at the track, anytime the cars come in, we're racing, anytime the cars come in, boom, they're up in the air, all four wheels are off, and we're underneath, looking at everything underneath the car. But have a good look at everything, and do your nut and bolt check, brake lines, nuts and bolts, and just visually do a good check of everything. If it's not clean, give it a good cleaning. Because I like a clean car because I can see if anything's going wrong. And then, same thing at the back of the car. You do a quick nut and bolt check. Just check everything. And then, let's see, what else do I got here? You should check the rear end and transmission fluids, and also tighten up the bolts, check the drive shaft. Back to the engine, alternator plug wires, the belts, and then, it pretty much goes over everything. Now, some of the other little things is if you had antifreeze in it for the winter, and it's a track car, you're going to want to drain the antifreeze out and get water in there with water wetter. Just straight water with water wetter cools much more efficiently than coolant. So if it's going to be a track car, get water in there. Also, a lot of tracks don't really like people running antifreeze. If something would happen, if somebody blows a hose with antifreeze, and it's an hour delay, because antifreeze is like oil on track, where it was just water, it'll just evaporate off. And then here's something at the battery. Have a good look at your battery. See what the terminals look like. If there's any kind of like little crusty things growing on them, or if there's an older car and the battery is like look a little moist on the top, what you want to do is get yourself some baking soda and water and just pour it on the battery and let it fizz in all the little crusty things growing on the terminals. Give it a good fizz, and take water and wash it off. But then I would pull the battery terminals off and make sure you've got a good connection. There's little battery things that I've got them in my toolkit. I can just put them on the post on the batteries and kind of puts a fresh surface on there. A little grinder thing goes up inside. If you don't have that, it's pretty easy. Just get some sandpaper and go around on the posts, and then up in the terminals of the battery, put it back on to get that tightened down. Because here's the thing: if you've got a little film on top of the battery, a little acid film, that actually drains the battery. If you've got that little film over the winter, your battery's probably going to be dead or close to it. So you'll be sure to give the battery a good charge if it's not. And of course, obviously you check your tires. check your tire pressure. Just make sure that, just take a good look at everything. And of course, bleed the brakes. Anybody that pays attention to me knows that I am just mad about bleeding brakes. I bleed the brakes all the time. Very simply because when I go to hit the brake pedal, I want good brakes because I'm typically going pretty darn fast. And I mean, I change the brake fluid before we go to an event. We bleed the front brakes after the first day, and it's not a whole lot of bleeding, just a couple pumps just until the fluid turns clear, and then we bleed them again at the end of the second day, and then again when we get ready to go to the track, we'll give them another quick bleed. I just like fresh fluid everywhere. So bleeding the brakes, make sure you use high temperature brake fluid if you're going to be going on track, and obviously get some fresh gas, because gas will kind of deteriorate over the winter. Get some fresh gas in there. And I mean, it's kind of just all basic common sense. But there is this, this checklist that is available for you for free. Just download it in the Speed Therapy Society Facebook private group resource section. Yeah. Okay, so what else are we going to talk about today? I think we're going to jump to some questions real quick, and then we'll get back to Paul. Okay, I got really good questions this week from you guys. And if you've got questions, you can either send them in through the Speed Therapy Society, send them in through there, or remember, I'm answering questions live. So if you've got a question right now, be sure to send it in, and we'll get to questions at the end. Okay, Colby wants to know weight-saving steps and weight redistribution locations, ideal achievable weight balance. I'll start at the back and work forward. Ideal is kind of like a relevant term. Sometimes it's the best you can get. But a Mustang is always light on the right rear corner, so that's why we always move the battery back to the right rear corner and try to get it low to move some weight back there. It's still going to be light in the right rear corner, but it's really difficult to get a really good balance. But for the most part, for track days, going and like scaling the car and doing all that, unless you're a really super advanced driver, I don't know that there's a lot of value in that. I mean, I don't do it. We get the car set up at the beginning of the season, and I just drive it. But as far as weight savings, I mean, that's a real good point. I mean, anytime you can save weight, it's going to be a good thing. Whether it's rotating, whether it's sprung mass, unsprung mass, or rotating mass, all of it has an impact. I mean, one of the quickest, easiest ways to reduce weight is going to light wheels. Either like the Forge line, we've got the Apex wheels. It shaves a lot of weight off. Lighter wheels and performance tires. And that's the kind of thing you can actually feel in the steering wheel. As soon as you put light wheels on, you can feel it right away. So by doing that, you've reduced unsprung mass. The mass is moving up and down, plus rotating mass is going round and round. Aluminum drive shafts, that's another good way to save some weight. Carbon hoods. I always look for weight savings at the front of the car, and the hood is high. That's the last place you need weight. So I'll take, go to a lighter hood. And it just depends on how aggressive you want to be. Shaving the first little bit of weight off a car is pretty easy. But after that, I mean, every pound comes at a cost. I mean, you can really get these cars light, but you're going to spend a lot of time. You or somebody else is going to spend a lot of time, stripping out anything that is totally unnecessary. Even extra, if you've got the car caged, you can pull some of the inner panels out. But it's just, there's no ideal weight. It's, it's whatever you get, whatever you get. Move the battery to the back. I mean, you can play with moving weight around if you're on a scale. But like I say, for general track day, I don't think it's worth the effort. I think I told the story before when I first started working for the Speedworks people. They had 3 Mustangs in the Mustang Challenge in 2009. And they were like from IndyCar racing. They were basically Indy Lights team. So, their protocol and their procedures, every time the car came off the track, it went up on the scales. And, it took me a while to convince them that you really don't need to do that. I mean, this is not a formula car. We're not dealing with, minimal amounts of weight and getting the car super balanced. These are big, heavy cars that suspensions move all over the place. So, I mean, after they one event we tried it not doing scaling the car, and everything worked the same. So I just eliminated that procedure. We was scaling before we leave the shop, and that's it. So there's some thoughts. Tim Davis wants to know. He kind of mentioned, you know, my concept of heritage Mustangs. I think we might touch on that next week because we got a lot going on this week. Here's a good question from Glenn, and I might need some help from you guys. Glenn says that the 03 IRS Cobra True Track. Have I ever heard of the True Track tearing up axle bearings? I have not. We use Torson's. I use True Track when Strange builds my road race 9-inch rear ends for S197s. There's a True Track in that, but otherwise we just have experience with Torson's. So anybody else out there has heard about that? You know, let us know, because I don't know if it's common or if this is something unique that Glenn needs to look into a little deeper. But if anybody knows or knows something that knows, you know, please send it into the comments, and I'm sure, you know, Glenn can pick up on that. This is a great question, and this will strike a chord with a lot of people. I'd like to know how to properly bleed the clutch on an S197. I go crazy every time I do it. Well, welcome to the club. The way that Ford engineers did that, I think is kind of weird. I mean, there is no clutch bleeding system per se. When they first came out, what they recommend, they had this little vacuum pump thing. You set it on the top of the master cylinder, and you kept pumping it till all the air comes out. I mean, it's kind of silly in my view. But now when we go to when we change clutches and go to the Tremix and performance or racing clutches, we use a release bearing that's bleedable. You know, that has an extra little thing that comes out, so we can actually do just a proper bleed on it. But here are some things that we've tried and other people have tried. Just pumping it is kind of like the what you have to do. Now, we had one of our guys said he actually parks his car on a really steep slope and then pumps it to get the air out. But I mean, that's about all you can do. The vacuum thing is what Ford recommends. Otherwise, it's just pumping. If somebody else has any other good ideas or has better experience, please let us know. I mean, I'd like to know, and I'm sure a lot of our other people would like to know. But the second half of his question, Kobe actually adds to that question. And he once said, I'd like to learn more about using a separate clutch reservoir and the parts needed. Okay, that is another great question. On Cliff's car, we put a separate clutch reservoir in. There are some kits out there. I know that the Shelby kit is, I think, well overpriced for what it is, and because of that, and because inquiries, we're going to look at doing a remote reservoir kit that'll be a lot more cost effective than what's out there right now. But it's a great idea because you're separating clutch fluid and brake fluid. Because brake fluid at some point it's going to get hot, it's going to get dirty, and it's just separating the clutch out. It's got its own reservoir. And all my race cars, we run a separate reservoir for clutch. So there's absolutely no reason you shouldn't run a separate reservoir for the clutch in S197. And like I say, I just, because of this and, the expense of the ones that are out there, I just started looking into this. I think in a couple of weeks, I might have something for you guys, something that we'll be using and we'll certainly pass along. So that's our questions for today. If you have any more questions, send them in. Or if you have any support for some ideas or some of the questions that that we talked about, put them in the comments, and so everybody would like to know. So I think we're going to move on to Paul Dondero. Okay, now everybody knows that technology and us are always at odds. So I'm going to try this. We practiced and it worked. But then we've done other things that we practiced and didn't work. And there's something about, I don't know, we're over 30, and that represents a problem with technology. But we have a little interview with Paul Dondero, and a couple of reasons is, Paul's a pretty interesting guy. He has a V6 Mustang, and he has a full Kenny Brown suspension on it, and he loves it. I mean, he actually races with the V8s. and he'll tell you a little bit about that. But the other thing we're doing, recently we've had a number of people call in with V6 asking if it's worth setting their V6 up for track or to go to a V8. I mean, there are a lot of advantages to the V6 Mustang. You know, first of all, it's got 300 horsepower motor. That's about the same as the 5 to 10 Mustangs. It's a lot lighter in the nose, which makes it turn better. And you know, there's a lot of advantages to it. Insurance is less, for one thing. So I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the V6 Mustang for track. I mean, I think it's a great package. I also think that a properly set up EcoBoost Mustang would also be kind of a terror on track, because again, you got no weight in the nose, and it'll make it turn. Okay, fingers crossed. I'm going to try to pull up the video, and hope I don't screw this up. And if I do, Carrie is there. She told me how to click all the right buttons. Audio's on. Application window. Share. Yay! Okay, this is a great day and a successful day. Okay.
Hello, everybody. Here I am with Paul Dondero, and we are starting kind of something new that we thought you might be interested in, and that's sort of a customer spotlight. Paul, how are you doing today?
I'm well, thank you.
Well, you have kind of an interesting story, and I heard it from, the reason that we're doing this is I heard from Rich and some others that you have a V6 Mustang that's Kenny Brown equipped suspension, and you seem to do pretty well running with the V8s at tracks like Road America. And I thought, boy, isn't that interesting? So I thought we'd chat with you a little bit. And it's kind of like those V8s are going to be in big trouble next season, and we'll talk about that at the very end. But before we get into that, you do a lot of track driving, but from what I understand, going fast is something that you're experienced with before you started driving a Mustang. Can you expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, the Mustang is my first time with a motorized vehicle of any type, but I'm actually been a broken down luge racer for quite a while. I raced luge from 1980 through 1985 competitively, and then I get some masters races in here and there when I can. Luge is an interesting sport. It's a lot like road racing in that you're going down a twisty, turny curve and curvy course that, you know, you got to pick your lines and get it in the right spot to get in and out of the corner.
That's not that much different than driving on track.
You know, as I found out, when I first started driving on the track with my car, I was okay picking the lines, but I think I scared my instructor pretty good, because I really wasn't going for the brakes very much, because, well, luge has no brakes. So that was a whole foreign thing for me.
That's okay. Who needs brakes anyway?
Yeah, they just slow you down. Actually, you do, because, you know, when I finally figured out how to use the brakes, the lap time started coming down quite drastically. So, yeah.
Well, what kind of steered you towards a V6 Mustang?
You know, I liked it, the look. Number one is I've always been a Mustang guy, but I looked at the V6 Mustang and, you know, the S197 package, and I saw that the V6, the 3.7 V6 had 300 horsepower, and in doing a little investigating, you know, that really wasn't all that much different from the earlier V8s. And, you know, I took one for a drive and I said, boy, it's got a reasonable amount of power. You know, it's not going to, you know, smoke the tires and all the gears or anything like that, but it had enough power for me to keep me happy. And then, you know, when I got the suspension system in it, it kind of stunned me as to how well the car performed, quite honestly.
I think before suspension, I think you started with just the chassis support system. Is that correct?
I did. You know, I started out with the chassis support system, and, you know, the first thing I noticed when we got it all welded in and everything is we took it for a ride, and we were going around some big, long, swooping curves. And the first thing I noticed was the doors don't rattle anymore. I mean, if it did anything, it fixed that. Because I knew the body was twisting because I could feel the doors rattle and you hear it. But also when I just with that, the bracing system in the car actually tracked around these corners quite well, Kenny. I was actually surprised. Yes, it wandered still a little bit, but nothing like it did prior to having the chassis stiffening system welded in. So yeah, after that I was sold. I said, okay, we got to move forward with this.
So what were your first impressions after you installed the AGS 4.0 suspension system?
You know, my first impression was finally the car drives like it looks. It looks like a cool car, but now it drives like it's supposed to. I mean, the system took and fixed all the ills that were inherent with the car, and I had nothing but pleased with it. It's absolutely stunning the way that it transformed the car.
Well, the whole reason we're doing this is because I guess you've got a story about your little V6 with the Kenny Brown suspension and V8 Mustangs.
Oh gosh, yeah. You know, the two tracks that we primarily go to are the Road America up here in Wisconsin, and we go over to the Black Hawk track, which is a much smaller club track. And we're able to take and run with the big boys okay. You know, what we have to do with our cars, keep the momentum up. You know, you know, a lot of the big motor cars of the V8s, they'll pull away from us on a straightaway, but you know, we find ourselves reeling them in as soon as we get into the corners because we go in so much deeper. We go so much deeper, and we fill up the rear end and, you know, the rear view mirror, and we're just waiting for them to, you know, get out of the twisties so we can move forward. And it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool.
Yes, they were pretty surprised with that.
You know, when we're at the track, you know, after a session, we pull our car over to the pit area and we pop the hood and cool it off and check the temperatures and the pressures and everything, and, you know, get something to drink. And more often than not, after a session, somebody will come walking by the car, see that the hood is popped open, and have that scratch their head a little bit and say, you know, ask us, is that a V6? And yep, that's a V6. And more often than not, they kind of, you know, shrug their shoulders and move on. But I think the car is starting to get a little bit of respect. Yeah. Speaking
of respect, you've got an interesting name for your car.
Yeah, you know, I thought about it for a while, you know, and watching the Cars and Coffee, and, you know, all these people are naming their cars, and I thought to myself, boy, I got to get a name for this car, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. We named the car Rodney, as in Rodney Dangerfield, as he's one of my favorite comedians, and, you know, some of his shtick is I get no respect, you know, and I get a lot of heat from them. My friends that I'm just driving this little V6, and you know, they have to come for a ride with me in the car someday and see how much respect old Rodney does get after a session or two. You know, I guess people.
Yeah, the other day you were telling me that you were you often end up explaining or talking about your car to people when they want to know what's really in it.
And I do, and you know, quite honestly, the engine has zero modifications, nothing. The transmission, the only thing I did with that was put in a Ford racing shifter in it, and then I tell them exactly what I have in. I have, you know, the Kenny Brown AGS system from front to back, and that is it. I do have the Forge Line tire wheels on there with the Michelin Super Sports on there right now. I think that might change a little later on, but they're actually stunned that there's no motor work done in that car at all. It's just all suspension.
Well, I mean, in Cars and Coffee, I mean, everybody hears me talk about there's a lot of speed in the chassis. You know, that modifying the engine is the last thing to do for a track car. And I think you're a pretty good example of that.
You know, and having conversations with Rich, you know, it's, you know, I'm a relatively new truck driver. I've done this for a couple of years now. And one of the key notes that I got away from our conversation was, you know, having a lot of power is just another thing you got to manage. And when you're new to driving, you know, I'm looking to hit my marks. I'm looking to get my line. I'm trying to stay out of anybody's way. And I'm focused on my driving. I don't need a lot of power right now. Maybe someday, but as of right now, I think old Rodney does just fine, just with the power that he has.
Well, I think that the guys that were surprised with Rodney in the past, keeping up with the V8s, I think are going to be even more surprised next season.
Yes, because I'm very much looking forward to the latest and greatest Kenny Brown upgrade to the suspension. As you can tell, I'm putting in the JRZs. I'm going to go with the K-Link, and again, it's make the car drive as well as it can, and you know, let her rip.
Yeah, I think with the lightweight and the nose of your V6 and the K-Link, it's kind of like, you know, what you can probably expect is pretty much as soon as you turn into a corner, you can put your foot on the gas. You don't have to wait.
That's going to be something to look forward to.
And actually, instead of waiting to get back to the gas to the apex, you just drive to the apex. And then by that time, you're carrying a boatload of speed, corner exit speed.
That corner exit speed is pretty impressive as it is right now. I can't tell you how much I have to sit and wait for, you know, other cars to, you know, get turned and get moving.
Get out of your way, basically.
Yeah, it happens sometimes. It does happen, and you know they'll zip off to down to the next straightaway, and there I am waiting for them to get out of the way, which is kind of cool. Yeah, I do this for fun, and it's a blast.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, it is. It's really, I'm excited for it. Yeah.
Listen, Paul, I really appreciate you joining me today, and just keep rubbing your hands. That suspension's going to be here before you know it.
There you go, Kenny.
Listen, have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Did I make it back? Okay. Something I got to point out is Paul's a little modest. He was actually in the 1984 Winter Olympics in luge. So, I mean, there's some real history on Gone Fast. And I just absolutely cannot imagine sliding down an icy, twisty slope with your butt in a little bitty tin can and no brakes. No steering wheel, no brakes, no nothing. So, I mean, he's got a lot of, So I think with that, we're going to, oh, here we go. I got a sign. If you're just joining us, I'm Kenny Brown, and this is Cars and Coffee, and we're talking about all kinds of cool car stuff. And next up, we're going to talk about Cliff's car. And this is, it's really interesting, and I thought you guys might, find it interesting too, is Cliff has one of the Mustang Ford Racing FR 500S Mustangs. Now, the story behind that is in 2007, Ford Racing built a bunch of, a fleet of Mustangs for Miller Motorsports Park for their driving school. And then Mr. Miller was just an absolute nut about Mustangs. In 2008, they built a small fleet. I think it was 74. I can't remember exactly, of the FR 500S, which was an upgrade over the Miller cars. It was a little bit nicer car for the Mustang Challenge. And that went through 2009 and 2010. And I actually engineered 3 cars for Speedworks. They're based here in Indianapolis. And actually, it's kind of weird. Cliff's car is one of the cars I engineered for the Mustang Challenge. It was really kind of cool seeing it again. It still has some of the Kenny Brown stickers on it. but he he really wanted to upgrade the car and make it drive better. He was having some real issues with the way it handled. So this all started out, we were going to ship him the AGS 4.0, and then he thought, you know, I'm not real happy with some of the people around here. I'm just going to send you the car because I want it done right. So when the car got here and we started working on it, and then, you know, because it was here, Cliff just said, man, I'm going to do this really, really right. So we've added the Pro 4R brakes in the front. We've added and then what we're actually doing in general terms is the Mustang Challenge ended in 2010. In 2011, there was no place for these cars to go and race. So Ford Racing cut a deal with the SCCA that they could run in World Challenge GTS class, but they obviously were going to be overshadowed by the Boss S Mustang. So they allowed a series of upgrades to make them, you know, a lot more competitive. You know, one of them, which was my AGS 4.0 suspension, and the other was with an engine package that was the CNC heads, hot rod cams, intake manifold, and throttle body. So I thought, you know, it's here. Why don't we just upgrade this car to a full 2011 World Challenge spec FR500S? I mean, we could have done more wild things, but I thought, you know, let's retain the integrity of the car rather than, you know, go off in the wild blue yonder. So it's pretty much, we've sort of stated the fact that being a 2011 FR500S GTS World Challenge Mustang with a couple of extra little things. You know, we've gone through and this car's seen a lot of different people in a lot of different years. So we've really gone through and gone through the car top to bottom and just tidied things up, made things better, and it's gonna be pretty cool. You know, I added the wing on the FR500S is pretty, but it's real low efficiency. The old joke back then was how much does the rear wing, how much downforce does the rear wing make? And the answer is 19 pounds at 0 miles an hour. So what we did, we added a little gurney lip to the back to make that more efficient. We've added a diffuser in the back to help the wing be more efficient. And we're going to do some other things. We're going to put aside our fender skirts on the front fenders to help front downforce. And he's already got the Tiger hood, so that's a good thing. Oh, we've also upgraded to the triple pass, Kenny Brown triple pass radiator, which is, you know, he's never going to have a cooling problem after this. And did some other tidy up things. So I think Carrie's got put together some pictures. I think here you can see, this is the, you know, under the car, there's the K member. In the front, the front of the car with that aluminum piece is that's a splitter mount. What else we got? Okay, here we go. This is the JRZs. He went up to the single adjustable JRZs, which is an absolute fabulous shock package. The car had Sachs shocks, and that's what came with them. For the series, and I was never a fan of the Sachs shocks, but seeing everybody in the series had the same shocks, it didn't matter. I think the engineer that put the shocks together knew nothing about racing Mustangs, because they had the way the adjustment was set up. They had like 20 some bump adjustments and like 10 rebound. Well, that's backwards for Mustang. It should have been like 10 bump adjustments and 20 some rebound, because we do most of our tuning with rebound on shocks. And Cliff had some people out there rebuild the shocks, and they didn't understand how to set them up either. So I'm surprised that, you know, Cliff gets a big shout out for being able to drive the car the way it was. But we get the single adjustable. There's only one thing for them to just the rebound, and that's a great shock package. We've got our track springs on it, 650 front and 650 rear. And if you've been paying attention to some of the other things, you know why we did that. And then you can also see the adjustable sway bar end link. The next picture, Carrie.
There's nothing on the rear suspension.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, there's nothing on the rear suspension because he has the new rear suspension, and that's not being released to the general public until, we're not sure yet, maybe the end of April.
We have no pictures. He has our rear suspension.
Yeah, he has the rear suspension, but we're not sharing pictures. Let's put it that way. And anybody who, I mean, how many people out there were able to join us for the private reveal on the new AGS 4.5 that we had a week or so ago. It was private for the Speed Therapy Society people, and they also had the second opportunity to purchase a new rear suspension. The first opportunity went to the Speed Therapy Academy folks. They saw it first, and we built first lot of 10 just to get it going. Boom, we sold those up straight away. And then we introduced it to Speed Therapy Society people in a private reveal, and they're kind of like selling like crazy. And for those that weren't there, once you get to see it, as we introduce it to the general public and the media, you're going to be probably pretty impressed. I know everybody else was, and what it does, it just changes the car dramatically. Anyway, here's the Kenny Brown Pro 4R race brakes, which we're pretty proud of. I mean, we spent a lot of time and energy working with Bear to make these kind of like the absolute best race brakes, dollar for dollar, you can get for a Mustang. It means what was on the car, the originally came, the FR500S originally came with the Brembo Gran Turismo brakes, and somewhat had switched over to Stop Tech, and Cliff never did like his pedal feel, and I can back that up, because back in the this is back with the I'm trying to think what years. Anyway, it had to be late 90s. We tried some of the Stock Tech brakes. It's a nice brake package. I mean, it's good quality, well built. I just don't think they've got the piston size right, because I do not like the pedal feel either, and that's when we pretty much switched over to Bear exclusively. But these race brakes have just every single possible feature you can get. I think you'd have to go to a Brembo GTR brake, which for a Mustang I think is $8,500 or $800 an axle set, and this is a lot more cost effective. It's 4 pistons instead of 6 because it's lighter, but we still use the same 6-piston brake pad profile, and it's been lightened. It's got the R-spec rotors, and the cool thing is the front brake pads are 1 inch thick, which is always a good thing. So go to the next slide, Carrie. Now here's something cool that we did is his brake hoses were kind of torn up, and he had the Ford Racing 4-inch brake ducts. And you've heard me talk about we did a comparison test with the Speedworks Mustangs and M69. I had our 3-inch brake ducts. They had the 4-inch brake ducts, and overall temperatures were close to being the same. The big difference is with the 4-inch, because part of the duct as it went into the rotor, part of it hit into the eye of the rotor and part of it hit the face of the rotor. And what was happening, it was like difference in temperature outside and inside, and we had uneven tire wear or uneven brake pad wear with the 4-inch. So I mean, the 3-inch is, I designed it specifically so we can squish it down and put all the air goes right into the eye of the rotor. Well, this makes it even cooler, because what we did is it has a 4-inch. So what we did, put my 3-inch on there, but as you can see, we necked it down. We took the 4-inch and necked it down to 3-inch. You're reducing the area by 25%, which means it's going to be forcing a lot of air into that 3-inch duct. So there's going to be a ton of air going into at very high velocity into the center of the rotor. So those brakes are going to cool like crazy. Okay, next one. Oh, and here's, we decided to do, the whole engine thing. So here's kind of engine parts laid out, and, the heads with the hot rod cams. Ford Racing doesn't sell those heads anymore that were part of the package, but we've got something that's just a little bit better. We went and got the Livernoids. I got some friends at Livernoids, so we had them CNC, do a stage 2 CNC on the heads. So these are going to flow, a lot of air. Next. Okay, there you get a good shot of the combustion chamber and the intake, and you can see that, Livernoids does such great work. I highly recommend them if you need something done, or if you want to have me get a hold of them before you go through us, and we can do that too. But they do really nice work. Next. And there you can see on the left is the intake port. And you know that when you know you've got a good port design, when you can look through that port and you can see the valve, you know there's going to be a lot of air going through. The same thing on the exhaust side. It's a D port, it's quasi D port, and you can, like I say, you can see most of the valve in there, which means a lot of air is going to be coming out. Next, and there it is, nestled right back in where it belongs, with the Ford Racing intake manifold and the Ford Racing 62 millimeter throttle body. And then we also upgraded to had the Ford quasi cold air kit, which was nothing more than the factory snorkel with a big air cleaner. But we switched over to JLT, which this is going to flow a ton more air. Do you have any more pictures? Ah, yeah, here we do. We did some nifty things when we put the triple pass radiator in. The shroud that was in there, and here we talk about, make sure the radiator shroud is all the air goes through it, not around it. At some point it had gotten pretty beaten up, and and Kurt had to pull it out, and he had to hammer some panels straight and re-rivet it back together, so that's all fixed. And then actually the way it hit the radiator that was in the car, it didn't even go all the way to the bottom. It was, it went like above that. So we made some tabs. So we moved the shrouding all the way down to the bottom of the radiator, as you can see in the picture on the right. So we're getting all the air goes into it. Next. This is my favorite, because when Cliff gets his car back, this is the picture everybody's going to see. Cliff driving away from him. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to get this car finished and back to him. I know he's pretty excited to get it. So that's just a little something, and we thought was kind of interesting. It's just like I engineered that car in 2009, 2010, and here it is again. I'm making it even better. So that's Cliff's car. And we've done the. Let's see. I think we've pretty much done everything, and we might be up to question time. And here comes my lovely assistant with her computer and her questions. And she got my water over. So let's see. Oh, you know what I forgot all about? If you're on YouTube, subscribe, click the bell to get notifications. And Facebook, be sure to put our likes up and share. I should have told you in the beginning, if you had friends, you could get a share party or a watch party and share it. I screwed that up. But I'm doing it now. Better late than never. So, and then, I forgot this month's artwork. We've got Dan Gurney back. We had, Kenny's Wild Horses, which is a special acrylic commission by Ron Burton. And because I've been doing a lot of Zoom things from my office, I moved that to my office and moved Dan Gurney out here. So we got Dan Gurney at Le Mans. And the coolest thing about that, I don't know if you can see it very well, but you can see him holding his hand up to block the sun. And it looks like he's got his Rolex on and just some old-fashioned driving gloves. That's kind of cool. And I think Carrie's looking at questions. I think next week, obviously we'll do some tech talk, and let me know what you want me to talk about. Like I say, I talk about what you want to know about, so send in your questions or subject matter. If you've got a subject matter you want me to expound on, please send that in, and I'll see what I can do for you. We might do something on the Heritage Car program next week. It's in its very, very beginnings. But I thought we'd share that with you because I'm sort of excited about it. And then I think we'll do some more memorabilia. We haven't done that for a couple of weeks, so bring some memorabilia in, which I've got a ton of it, and it goes way back.
And we may have a special guest that you don't know about yet.
Oh, I guess we might have a special guest that I don't know about. So I'll probably find out the same time you do.
Okay, so here is one question, and this it says Facebook user, and let me explain this to anybody that you see your name as Facebook user. That's what I see on my screen. We stream through StreamYard, and they require you to give them permission to use your name. So at the very top of the comments, you'll see a question if you want to authorize your name. So if you'd like to show your name there, authorize it, and we'll see it. Okay, so Facebook user says, a question, do you ever replace a hydraulic steering with electric? How much changing is required?
Okay, we have not done that yet, but I know that recently some kits have come out. They treat it like an independent unit. You put the electric steering in, and they've got the controller and everything. I don't know much more about it than that. I just know it's out there. We haven't had cause to change one yet. So, yeah, I mean, it's totally possible. Do a little research on the internet, and I think you'll be able to find out more about it.
Okay, and we have another one from Roy Wallace. This is a comment. My 03 V6 makes me be as efficient as possible in every corner. Power can make your lines happy.
Sloppy.
Sloppy. Oh boy, I need some sleep, I guess.
Or new glasses. Yeah, I mean, there's a good point to that. I mean, with the V6, they're light, and you get the right suspension under them. And like Paul said, I mean, you drive through the corners really, really quickly. And sometimes that people start out with their track car, and they just start with a motor first, because that's what they do in drag racing. Well, this isn't drag racing, and you get too much power, and you gotta, like you said, it can be sloppy. I mean, you have to wait for that axle to settle before you can put your foot into it. Otherwise the back end gets loose, and we get oversteer, and everybody knows oversteer is when the back of the car hits the wall first. And then you have to wait to get back to the gas. I know, like at Road America, between turn 3 and turn 5, I mean, I just drive past GT500s because I come off turn 3 that's in Ruby, my 2012 GT4 RS, which is an awesome track car. It's it's a Coyote with cold air and headers, nothing else. It's going to be good suspension, good brakes, some aero on it. But I carry so much more speed out of turn 3 that the GT500 guys, because of all the torque, they have to wait before they can really start feeding in power. I just blow right past them. So that's a very good point. Is power can make your line sloppy, because I mean, you have to wait till you get grip. Okay, next.
There's another one on the V6. I'll let you read it since I'm sloppy at reading my comments.
Glad to hear you're not the only person who drives a V6 Mustang. I mostly autocross mine and use it as a daily in the summer. Yeah, I mean, I think that Mustang V6 is a great package. Like I say, they've got 300 horsepower, and the 5 to 10 3-valve 4.6 V8s had around the same horsepower. So yeah, a great little package.
Okay, this is getting back to batteries. One of the Facebook users said, anti-gravity batteries drop my battery weight from 36 to 9 pounds. And then Tim Thomasak has another question here. Battery Talks reminds me, my 13 Boss still has original. Is lightweight battery like Braille AGM a good option for a little weight savings?
There is a number of lighter batteries out there. And saving weight is always a good thing, especially because the battery in the Mustang is kind of up front and high. So if you could drop some pounds out of that, I mean, that'd be a good thing. I don't have experience with the ones you just mentioned, but I know there's some good ones out there.
Oh, this is a good one too. This is back to the V6. You appreciate conservatism of momentum when you don't have power. Actually,
you learn to drive better, if I want to be frank about it. Because momentum is very important. Anybody that's ever been on track with a race prepped Miata knows all about how quick a car can be with momentum. I can tell you, in 2010, the Mustang Challenge raced at Audubon up in Chicago, and it was like mixed with a whole bunch of other races. On the Promoters Day, which is Thursday, where you go out and do you get testing. They kind of lumped cars together in like larger groups, and the Miatas were lumped together with the Mustang Challenge cars. And surprisingly, some of the Miatas were quicker than the Mustang Challenge cars. And it's not the power, it's the momentum. I mean, they just carry so much speed around the corner. Remember, a lot of speed around mid-corner gives you a lot of corner exit speed, which gives you speed down the straightaway. So yeah, I mean, that's a good point.
Okay, and I'm just going to add a couple comments here about the rear suspension. Now I lost my spot. Okay, so Calvin says, I was there. That new suspension makes me want to buy a car it fits on. Calvin's driving a Fox right now. I'm getting ready to campaign it, I believe. Steve Calistini. I tended to know the secret weapon. Good morning from Oregon. So, Steve.
Yours is on its way.
Yep, left yesterday.
Left yesterday afternoon.
Dale, excited about your new rear suspension, but worrying about using exposed Heim joints due to dirt and wear. What is your take on Heim joints for daily use?
The Heim joints, we have to realize the Heim joints we used a couple years ago, we switched over. Everybody in the aftermarket uses great big clunky 3/4 inch rod ends, and they weigh a lot, and then the control arms weigh a lot with them. But a lot of, the majority of people out there use like what's called a 2-piece rod end just because they're inexpensive, and it's like poured together, and they don't have a very long lifetime. When I dropped from 3/4 to the 5/8, I go to the extra good JMX, which is like a professional grade rod end, super strong, and they're Teflon lined. The only thing about rod ends on the street is just, it's referred to as a small maintenance item. You just have to, make sure they're clean. Every now and again, kind of crawl under with some brake clean and just give them a quick shot. Get the dirt off of them. You never ever want to put any kind of lubricant on there. Some people think that if they put a little like WD-40 on there, it helps make them work. Well, all that does is attract dust, and the oil and the dust turns into sandpaper. So yeah, we have really good luck with them, and just it depends on your environment. Just a little maintenance, a little brake clean, and I wouldn't like soak them down. Just give them a quick shot, and you're good to go.
Okay, we have other comments on on the rear suspension. I almost blew the name of it.
Well, I mentioned it in the video,
okay.
So but don't tell them anyway, in case they weren't paying attention.
Anyway, Tim Thomas says it often, and he won't say what it is. We also have Bob Jones, a great session with Paul and the photos of Cliff's car. So Bob Jones is one of our Speed Therapy Academy
alumni. And just a little note on that is we had the special preview I think a week ago, and then Thursday night we had a bonus session for those that had ordered the new rear suspension. We put together a little bonus session, and it's like it mirrored what we do in Speed Therapy Academy, where it's kind of like at the very end of the Speed Therapy Academy, we go through the car front to back, the shocks, the suspension, the chassis, aerodynamics, suspension geometry, setup, tuning, all that. And we get to the very end, people send in their videos, and I do some driver coaching. In fact, I didn't erase the board. This is from Thursday night, and we talked about, the subject was early apexing, and we had some good videos, and we talked about that. So the thing about is the Speed Therapy Academy alumni are always welcome and to join any of the special sessions, even if they're private. The Speed Therapy Academy alumni is kind of like an elite group of people, and so they're always allowed to join any of the private events that we have going. So they were there, and I think anybody that went through the academy will tell you it's kind of interesting. You learn a lot. But anyway, we did the special bonus Thursday night and went through driver coaching, which was kind of cool.
So right now we have 2 questions left. If you have any questions, this is last call for your questions for Kenny. This is from Jake. And by the way, Herstripper, we're getting to your question next. Jake, what is the best battery that you found for campaigning your car?
There's a lot of them out there. I can tell you the ones that I've had issues with are the what are those yellow ones? The yellow ones and red ones.
They're yellow and red.
Yeah, yellow top, red top.
We had a late night last night. So anyway, do you want to talk about it next week?
Yeah, those are the ones Optima. There we go. I should know that they have their name on everything. I've had a number of issues with those batteries retaining a charge. If there's some other good batteries out there, I think I gotta think.
Well, we talk about it.
Yeah, we'll
next
talk
week.
about it next week.
Okay.
The best battery to use is the one that works.
What do you think of those lighter weights? We can talk about that next
Yeah, I mean,
week.
lighter weights are great. Some of them don't have a lot of cranking power. So anytime you look for a lightweight battery, be sure it's got plenty of cold cranking power because V8s take a lot of power, obviously, to turn them over.
Okay. So now we have Herstopher's, and if there's any more questions, this is the time to add them. Herstopher says, do you have any solutions for S550 hub issues?
No, I have, but I have heard there's, he's talking about wheel bearings. He's burned up a bunch of them. And I have not heard of any solution. Nor have I had time to research it, but I'm sure that there's, I don't know. I just don't know. We're going to have to maybe look into that and see if anybody else out there has heard anything about a fix for the wheel bearing problems on the 550 cars, and let us know. I'm sure Herstopher would like to know. I'd like to know too.
I think this session is called Stump Kenny.
Yeah, this is Stump Kenny today.
Okay, so anyway, Herster has a couple more questions. He also wants to note to you that he also found out that his rear end knocking is from brake caliper brackets that got loose.
Nut and bolt check. I mean, I keep talking about doing your nut and bolt check. And I've had a lot of people that over the years have called in the cars, little problem here, a little problem there, and they're trying to do all kinds of crazy things. And I have them do like a nut and bolt check. Sure enough, here's a loose bolt. So yeah, that's doing your nut and bolt check is really, really important. I mean, we on my race cars, I have what we do a major and a minor. Nut and bolt check, a major is like every single nut and bolt, and the minor is after a while you learn which bolts have a tendency to loosen up. And I can tell you that bolts do loosen up on race cars. And it seems to me like the job of a race car is to break things. Because if you have a race car, something's going to break. I mean, that's just the way it is. So that's why nut and bolt checks are really important.
Okay, I'm going to ask the rest of his question, but first I'm going to interrupt, as I always do. So if you guys out there who are listening, can you let us know if you like the customer spotlights, like Paul Dondero, if you'd like to hear more of those? And so say yes or no spotlights, and then also I lost my train. What else we're going to do? Oh, guests. If you like Kenny to interview guests from the industry. So say yes guests or no guests. So that will give me a good idea of what we should be putting on the show. Or if you just like more tech questions answered by Kenny. Okay, here is the rest of his question. How critical or risky is this loose bracket, the brake caliper bracket? And then is there a solution for this to not happen again?
I say risky, and yeah, I think it's not a good thing to have a brake bracket loose. I mean, the thing to do is whatever bolts are getting loose, get some blue Loctite, not the super gonzo Loctite, but like blue Loctite. Put a drop of Loctite on it, and then be sure you torque the bolts to factory specifications. Or the other thing too is a lot of these bolts on these newer cars are like one-time use bolts. Why they do that, I have no idea. But if you could just replace the bolt too, and then put some Loctite on and see if that fixes it. Okay, and Jake Rocco on the battery question said, "Thank you. I'll watch next week. I'm a Butte College automotive student, and I just want to learn as much as I can." Great. Well, we're glad to have you. Maybe you should join our Speed Therapy Academy, which is the next academy is going to start in, I think it's the second week of April. Mm-hmm. And you'll be hearing more about it. I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, if you want to learn a lot about cars, and if you're a track guy, and the whole idea is by the time you're finished with the academy, is a lot about cars, a lot about things you didn't know about, and then when you go to the track, you're going to know, you're going to be the guy. I mean, you're going to know what to do and how to do it, how to adjust your car, and how to blow past people. Also, how to drive it. And also, we have Tom Nelson, who is one of the, I signed up for the next academy. Oh. So, yeah, he's watching today. I'm glad you had to join us. And let's see, we also have lots of yeses on both the guests
and the spotlights, the customer spotlights. Okay, see if there's anything else. Oh, Dan Navy is on NIF too. Remember to visit cruiseforacause.org and use promotion code KV25 for 25% off your chances to win a 21 Shelby GT500.
Yeah, it's a cool deal. It's a cool car. It's an extremely good cause. So I highly recommend it if you haven't already. Please donate. It's actually a donation, but you're buying a chance. But with a Kenny Brown code, whatever you spend for a chance, you get 25% more. So if it's like you get say you got spend 100, you get 125 worth of chances.
Oh, and we have another. This is a Facebook user, which I'm sure it's one of the alumni, because they say, "Do the Academy, it is great!" Exclamation points. So, okay. So anyway, I think that's it. I don't see any more questions. So, everybody, I guess, have a good day.
Well, I'm glad you could join us today, and it's like I say, it is almost but not quite spring here today, and we're really looking forward to next week. It's going to be the 60s. Pretty much the snow has mostly gone away. Even the great big piles are about done. So I mean, I'm ready. I'm sure you guys are ready to get out because high performance tires don't work when it's cold. So getting up to 60 degrees, that's enough temperature for performance tires to work and to have some good driving. So if it's like that where you are, get out and enjoy the weekend. And I can't wait till it gets a little better. And we'll see you next week with what we talked about. And I guess a special guest that I know nothing about. I'm in the dark. So, okay, listen, glad you could join us this week, and we'll see you all next week. Have a good week.